Okay, let's get the show started. What's going on, family? Everybody out there, all our uncommon champions. This is Coach Clavon. Hey, Happy New Year. I mean, listen, guys, it's 2024, and we are fired up and excited. Hey, guys, this is the year of the uncommon male. This is the year of the uncommon man. Guys, this is episode 7. I have the pleasure of bringing on my superstar co-host, Dan. What's going on? Hey, Dan,
How's it going, man?
you're losing weight. You're glowing. What's going on, brother? Happy New Year's to you.
Oh, thank you. Hanging out here in Mexico.
Oh, okay. Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, hey, everybody in the world's asking, and what's going on with this uncommon movement? I know that, I had a mastermind session with you many, many, many months ago. We talked about success. We talked about a special movement, camaraderie, a conglomerate of powerful men all over the globe, having each other's back,
For sure.
defining what success is. And, before we get started tonight, I know the most important principles, are our health, our finances, our growth and development, the ability to work together under a realm of accountability, and the ability to get back. But I got to ask you, as we get deeper into those pillars, what is success for you in 2024? How's the stage looking as we launch tonight, episode 7?
Clavon, great question. I always think success is something that is, for me, it's pretty easy to define. But I think a lot of times it's difficult for people to define what truly is success. For me, it's just happiness. You know what I mean? If you break down everything else, I used to think that, making a lot of money, doing those types of things is what you would consider success. But we've seen so many examples of people who make a tremendous amount of money. And I guarantee you they're not happy. They're not keeping their relationships together. They're struggling in almost all aspects of life other than financial. And then many times some of the people with tremendous amounts of money even start to struggle financially because you still have to be able to maintain it. And so, I think success is just being happy with who you are, where you are. And the whole goal with Uncommon Men and this uncommon movement is really just to help people understand what they're capable of, help people remember who they are, and give them the best chance of having success. And again, I'm not going to take away and just say that I do believe that it's a little bit easier to be happy if you do have your finances under control. It's a little bit easier to be happy if you have your health and fitness under control, personal development, so you're always growing. I saw something a while back, and it's really made me think. And it said, winners are losing. And I think about that a little bit. And so many times when things are going really good, you're starting to slow down a little bit.
Right.
And so it talks about, you really have to be understanding that you can't just sit on top and think everything's always going to continue to go good. There's always some people underneath you that are, fighting harder, pushing harder. So it's a lot of times the people that, aren't necessarily winning yet are the ones that are actually winning. So that whole concept of winners are losing and losers are winning is something that I've put a lot of thought into. And I think that's what boils down to that personal development, always growing, never, just settling and saying, okay, that this is good enough, because it's very difficult to, stay stagnant. You're almost always either going forward or you're going backwards. So really, we just want to show people what they're capable of. The whole concept of this podcast, as we've mentioned, is getting uncommon men on this call and just going with that basic success principle that success leaves clues. We're planning on leaving a whole bunch of clues. And I think that even though it's only our 7th episode, we've already seen a lot of commonalities between these successful humans, successful men. And it's just like we said all the time, I've said this on several episodes, Clavon, if we were doing the opposite and we were just interviewing unsuccessful people, we'd see a lot of commonalities also. Right. Success is very rarely an accident. And we just want to remind people that they're capable of doing some amazing things, and we want to give them that roadmap. We want to give them the exact system to do that, and then the mentorship and the help, and this is part of that mentorship and help, and just giving people a roadmap of what is necessary in order to be successful. So let's go ahead and get going, man. I'm excited. Very rare when we decided to do this podcast on Monday nights, that when we're very first getting rolling, I don't think we looked and saw that both New Year's Day and Christmas Day
right
on Monday. But man, I'm grateful to be here. Grateful for the ability to get some good clues. It helps me just as much as it will help the other people that are viewing and listening to this, whether they're watching it live or watch one of the replays on Facebook or on YouTube. But we plan on just keeping this going for the unforeseeable future, and again, just giving as many clues as possible with the single goal. Again, it's a very simple goal. It's a very simple purpose. If somebody asks me, what is this movement? This movement is 100% designed to help any male 16 and up to leave the herd and move up into the top 1%. So it's kind of interesting when we were discussing putting this together and started looking, what does that 1% mean? What is the top 1% in health and fitness and nutrition? And what is the top 1% in finances? And those are kind of the two main things that we're focused on. And the personal development, the accountability are really what's going to help us achieve those other things. And then the giving back is just something that I think everybody should give back. I really think that it's an important thing for us as human beings to help others. And I think that's a big chunk of what life's all about. It's about, finding success. I know obviously you have struggles and things like that, but it's really about overcoming and then helping others. And as we've discussed quite often, one of the things that I think a lot of people have that perception or that mindset that, the best way to learn is through experience and figuring things out. But really the best way to learn is actually through other people's experience. And that's kind of what this podcast is about, is showing other people's experience and then just following the things that work the best. And again, there's no need in 2024, probably the first time I've said that since today's the first day, but there really is no need in 2024 for anybody to take any more than a couple years to become ultra successful. There's again, social media, 8 billion people in the world, billions of people on social media. We can contact them all for free. So many clues out there of how to become successful, so many different things open. So I look at it maybe, when I was first getting started in home-based business, there wasn't the track record. There wasn't the access to the world that there is now. There wasn't so many people having success working for themselves, at least not a way to find them as easy as there is now. And so, I think a lot of times it's that, 5-10 year grind to figure things out. And I think there's no need for that anymore. Right. There's no need to go and grind for 5-10 years. Right. In order to create success, and that's really what we want to show and give some people some ideas and just learn some basic success traits.
Yeah, and I think you hit the head on the nail. Success leaves clues.
Yeah,
and I think tonight we have a special guest that I'm excited about. And I believe that this gentleman is extremely uncommon,
Yeah, that's for sure.
A tremendous amount of value. I want to go ahead and bring Mr. Scott Pospical onto the line. Scott, how you feeling? I know you had a rough night tonight. We'll get into that in just a minute with the football game. But, Scott, I got to tell you something. I haven't known you that long, but I've got to know you, and you have an amazing personality of generosity. Beyond the success you've had as a national, international businessman, your reputation is amazing. I know you've added a tremendous amount of value to Be Epic with the amount of leadership you've shown. and just all that you've done for the communities, for the school systems, the colleges all over the country. I've heard and learned so much about you, and everybody that I know that's working under your leadership speaks so highly about you. So, Scott, it's an honor to have you on here. You are definitely an uncommon gentleman who leads by example with an amazing track record. And as we get started, man, we just want to just ask you a little insight on your background. Just let us know, man. Just starting off before we get into the heavy questions. Who is Scott? Just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Clavon, you spoke exactly how I wrote that. You just did an amazing job. I am always honored and humbled to ever have the opportunity to present, to speak. And when Dan reached out to me, Dan could tell me tomorrow we're going to Lithuania, and I'm going. It's just the way it is. And I'm a basketball coach by trade. 2 older brothers, incredible mom and dad. My father passed in 2017. My mom, we always say she makes the cat look bad. She's cheated death so many times, but she's a popsicle, and we're fighters. We just don't go down easy. And, we've always, at a young age, we're taught to be good at something. I always tell people I like being around people who like what goes with being good gets them. Those are achievers. Those are uncommon people. Or, second place doesn't sit real well with us. And, we just like to do our best to achieve. And here's the cool thing about achievement in my eyes is that financially it's allowed me to help a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I truly, I don't know what it is. I just love giving more than I like getting.
Man,
I know that might sound weird, but maybe it's my age at almost 63.
I think it's pretty common, Scott, to be honest with you. I think that helping others is just what life's about for some reason. I don't understand why, but I've seen the same thing. I've bought some cool cars and things like that. And you're excited for, I still like them. I'm not going to say I don't, but that excitement wears off pretty fast, even if you buy that new fancy house and all of those things. But it never gets old seeing the other people smile and them just being so excited to get something. And so I think that's for everybody. I think it's just how we're created as human beings. That it's always almost better to give than receive. I'm not saying that it's not good to receive, but it's always something that really drives me. Also, is I would rather give away a car than buy a car for myself, just for the same type of reason that you're talking about.
That's I can't give away cars, Dan, but I'm big with tennis shoes.
That's funny that you say that. I'm actually wearing a pair of shoes that you gave me right now.
Well, it's a really nice pair. That's an elite. I don't wear black shoes a lot, but that's the nicest pair of black shoes. So, but I don't know, Dan. I just think that, and here you are, you're that way, and it's obvious that Clavon's that way. And when I had an opportunity to meet Clavon that night when we were in Houston, and we stayed at the Airbnb, and that was just magnificent because of all the leadership that was there. And those folks all had really kind of the majority of the same qualities.
Yeah.
They were, this is that business where when you help other people get what they want, you get it. It comes back to you. And, I did an interview when I was 25 years old, and it came up on a Facebook memory when I was a basketball coach. And Dan, you had commented on it because we had won this big game. We're going to the state Final Four. I'm a young head coach, and I'm thanking everybody. I'm thanking the athletic director, the president, my managers, my assistant coaches. I'm giving everybody. I think the only person I didn't thank was the secretary. And I don't know. It's just kind of been the way to go about. My father was probably the most giving man, and I didn't even know it until later in life.
Wow.
He was a hard worker, and that was one of the things I always say. Pospicle's a hard name to pronounce, but I promise you it's a hard-working name. My middle brother, I'm the baby. My middle brother, Tim, was the mayor of Auburndale for 7 consecutive terms. My brother, Steve, used to be closer to the devil. Now he's the right hand and doing prison ministries and just doing all kinds of really beautiful things and giving back. And, we've been taught to give. We've been taught to work hard. We've been taught to really treat people well. And, whether you're the janitor, whether you're the president, it doesn't matter. You treat everybody the way you want to be treated. You treat people with respect. And it's really amazing how that gravitates others to you when you do the things like that. People want to be around people that are kind, that are successful, that will go out of their way to help others. And,
for sure.
And this is like, we're in the perfect industry. Oh my gosh. Somebody goes, "Why are you so nice?" I go, "They pay me a lot of money to be really nice." And I say that, but I mean, Dan, think about it. It's kind of, the money that we've made in this industry is insane.
Yeah.
I mean,
let's talk about that a little bit, Scott. So you talked about going into coaching, but before that, you was an athlete and went straight into get did you get a degree in like secondary education for teaching, or did you go straight into coaching and not have to be a high school teacher or something like that?
Actually, I went to college to play basketball, but I did get an education. I got a degree, but I got hired right after college at a Division I program. The University of North Carolina at Charlotte hired me as an assistant. I was there for 2 years. Came back to Auburndale High School where I graduated. They hired me as the head basketball coach there. I was 24 when they hired me, 25 when I left to go to another junior college. But yeah, I've only taught one time. My degree has allowed me to have one, but it's opened doors in coaching. And most of the jobs that I've had like that, until a certain time in my life, didn't pay very well.
So how did you get from coaching to starting into network marketing and businesses for yourself?
Hey, January 3rd, 1994. I'm in my office, 10:30 in the morning. Basketball, phone rings, basketball, Scott Pospickle, how can I help you? The gentleman on the other end was the president of Central Florida Community College. His name is Dr. Bill Campion. He says, "Scott, Bill Campion, it's very, very important that I come and talk to you." Well, my first thought was he's going to come and offer me the job. We were really, really good. We'd won the NIT a couple times, which was their tournament. And so I said, "Sure, when would you like to do that, Dr. Campion?" He goes, "Today. I'll be at your office at 6:30. Hang the phone up, clean my office up, clean up. I'm looking good, feeling good. He walks in, pulls an easel out, sets up a flip chart, and starts flipping pages. And I'm looking at it like, what in the world is this? There's no Scott Pospickle, you're the man. There's no come to Central Florida. And, he starts talking about this company years ago called Excel. And I didn't know what he was talking about. But he left a clue. He was successful, and I wasn't financially. And I was successful at other things, but it sure wasn't making any money.
Right.
And so he said, "You're going to do this, and I'm going to help you." And it just kept coming back in my mind, so I agreed to do it. And I remember going home that night, trying to explain it to my wife at the time, who her father was a retired OBGYN. They had 5 houses. I'm poor. And, we're living in a little small house that they bought for us, $100,000 house. And I come home and I go, "Listen, honey, we're going to do this. I'm going to do this, this, this. We're going to make all kinds of money." And she goes, you don't understand anything about that." And I looked.
And how old was you at that time, Scott?
I was 19 days away from my 33rd birthday.
33rd?
Yeah. So I was 32 years old. And I said to her, "I know, you're right. I don't. But Dr. Campion does. And he said he was going to help me." And I said that to her like 5 times. And after I said it to her the 5th time, I just looked at her and I said, "Please do me a favor. Say good luck, try hard." I'll put a chip on my shoulder. I got one. I'll prove to you I can do it. And, lo and behold, the sun came up the next day, and God said, "Go get them, coach." And coach went to work, and my life's changed. Millions of dollars in this industry that I'd never read a book on, didn't know anything about it, was never taught about it, but I trusted a man who left a clue. Wow. He was already successful, and he was willing to help me. And the good news was I was smart enough and said yes.
Was he already successful in that business, Scott, or he was just successful in business in general?
No, he showed me a piece of paper that, oh, sorry about that. He showed me a piece of paper that got my attention. It was a check, had an amount on it. And I was like, what the heck is this? Right? It's like Monopoly money. And, I did not, and here's what's really funny about this is I didn't go into it thinking that I was going to make a bunch of money. Mm-hmm. I said to myself, I don't want to prove him wrong. He drove 5.5 hours one way and 5.5 hours back after the meeting.
Wow.
He put 11 hours believing in me. At least that's what he made me think. And so I'm like, I'm not going to I'm going to prove him right. And then I'm going to prove my ex-wife wrong. And I'm good at that. If you really try at something and you have a really good reason why, now it doesn't have to be a good reason why to other people, but it has to be a good reason why for you.
Yeah.
And that's what drove me, that's what drove me.
So how did that go? Like, did you start off right away just calling acquaintances and people that you knew and make all this money super fast, and it was the easiest thing you ever did, or how was that?
No, that it didn't go. I did call people that I knew, but I called people that I used to take to play free golf. Okay. And, because I was the basketball coach, and I'm like, they did not have a choice. Yeah. I had 5 people at my first meeting, 9 at my second, 13 at my third, 28 at my fourth. But here's, what was really awkward about this is I still only made $200 in my first month. And I remember walking into the house from going to the mailbox, seeing the check. It was $197. They took $3 out for a check charge. And I walked in and looked at my wife, and I go, ha ha, it works. And she's like, oh, we're going to retire. Right. She was kind of a funny girl. Right. And the next month I made $837. And people ask me all the time, the biggest month I've ever had in this industry is $129,756. Okay. Wow. And I was really good looking that month. But when people ask me, they say, when did you realize? And I said, it was when I made $837. Because when you talk to a guy that's making, $40,000 a year, who's living paycheck to paycheck, his wife's not working, and you can do something to make an extra $800. I mean, that's like, I never could figure that out. And then I made $1,500 my third, $3,500 my fourth, and my fifth month I made $9,200. And wow. You'd have thought I won the lottery.
And what was you making it was you a college coach or a high school coach at that time? I was
a head junior college coach at Palm Beach, making $44,918 and taking home $3,600 a month. I was living large, coach.
So almost tripled the monthly income.
Listen, you couldn't tell me anything. Wow. You couldn't tell me nothing. When I hit $9,200, I was like, so yeah, talk to me.
Clavon, I saw something the other day. I like when Scott said when he made the 120-some thousand that he was very good looking that month. I saw something the other day, and it said, once you reach the age of 35 or more, there's no more good looking or bad looking men. There's just rich or poor.
Right.
Right. It's really funny because you do get really good looking when things like that are going on. People will pay attention to you. Yeah. And I'm a realist, though. I am. I always tell people I got this gray hair because I've earned it. Yeah. And I just keep a good attitude about things. I don't care how bad they get. Alabama loses tonight, and I'm not real happy about it. And I used to be a basketball coach at Alabama, and it's just one of those moments where you're like, my chest hurt the whole game, and then I thought we were going to win, and we didn't. But guess what? Now I'm doing something I love to do, and I'm hanging out with you guys. So you'd never know unless I told you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Right?
awesome. That's
That's
awesome.
awesome. And that's interesting. Because when I got started, it wasn't a very similar story. Scott, I was 18 years old, just about to turn 19. And it actually took me 4 months before I even earned that first check. I'd have been thrilled with a $200 check my first month. But when the kind of light bulb went off for me was about 2.5 years into it. I was making about $700 a month. Again, nothing exciting, but minimum wage at that time. This is about the time you got started. So this was probably 1994-ish when
Okay.
I was making about $700 a month. But minimum wage at that time was $4.25 an hour. Most of my friends that were working part-time 30, 40 hours a week or 20, 30 hours a week were only making $400 after taxes about. It takes a lot of hours at $4.25 to get decent money. So I was making about the same as them. Kind of building this business. And then things really started to take off probably in like 1995. Halfway through 1995, I had something just, kind of explode, right timing, right everything. And it was just kind of one of those, overnight successes that have been grinding super hard for 3.5 years. But it is interesting. I always like to try and find out, like, people, did success come fast? Did everything go as planned? And I find that most of the time it doesn't. But that's actually one of the better stories that I've heard in 9,000 in your first 5 months and stuff like that. What would you kind of attribute that to?
I've never been big at quitting.
Yeah.
I just never have. And I was young lady asked me to write a chapter for her book. And the title of the story in her book is Never Quit on a Bad Day.
Oh, I love that.
Okay. And so she asked me to think, when did I almost quit? And I'll never forget it. It was in my third month. I'm going to Orlando to do a meeting for a guy that called me, said that he's going to put a bunch of people in a room when I pay for the hotel room. And I said, you better believe it, I'll be there. And as I get in my car to start to drive there, my wife's upset about it because we're having a horrible rainstorm in Florida. I'm going up I-95, and this new guy that just joined my team goes, Coach, can I go with you? So I got a buddy with me, right? So we drive up there. We get there a little early. I buy him dinner at this really nice hotel myself. We go up to the room and nobody shows up. Not the guy, not a guest, not anybody at all. It's just me and my buddy Greg. And I'm telling you, my wife was killing me about going. No one's going to show up, all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, no, I'm going. I told him, I gave him my word. So we're driving back home. It's about 11:30 at night. And I'm getting ready to drop my new friend off. And he says, Coach, I need a favor. He goes, listen, I'm going through a divorce. And if I don't come up with $400, they're going to arrest me tomorrow for child support. I had $417 in my pocket, which was rare. And, I took some cash to go up there, right? So I gave him 4 $100 bills. I got home. I walked in the house and my wife's standing there going, well, what kind of meeting? I said, it was amazing. You would not believe it. The whole place was packed. And, some people might say you lied to your wife. I did. Okay, but she doesn't need to have to worry about my struggles. I don't need to put her in the defensive zone. I need to let her know that her boy here is going to do whatever it takes to win. So I told her it was an amazing meeting. The moral of the story, too, is I never got my $400 back. That guy never came back to a meeting. Be careful who you loan money to. But you know what? It just never quit on a bad day.
That's great. That's a great slogan. Hey, Scott, let me ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
Because I want to shift gears a little bit. I mean, that's an amazing story. I know Excel was telecommunications. Right?
Yes.
I had a similar start in the industry back in the old ACN days.
Okay.
So that telecom was special. But with your career in athletics, right? We have it up here, nutrition and fitness. One thing about the genius of what Dan has put together with the Uncommon Movement is that first pillar, that the movement stands on. The culture of the thing is health and wellness,
Okay.
like putting our health first. And I wanted to just kind of jump out there and ask you, what does health, nutrition, fitness mean to you from like shifting to that as far as the industry of network marketing, thinking about it from a perspective of athletics. You've been in coaching and basketball on so many different levels. Just really wanted to just home in on this industry of nutrition and fitness in your career and something, for your own personal life. Just kind of give us some insight on what that has meant for you.
That's interesting that you would ask that question because being in telecom, there was no products. We didn't have to worry about anything, right?
Yeah.
And I had met a young man that was much younger than me at the time. His name was Alan Perisher. He's with a different company. And he was in the health and wellness industry. And he said something to me about the health and wellness industry. He said, people are always going to want to be healthy. People are always going to want to live longer lives. And I'm like, yeah, right. Okay. Well, all of a sudden, I get into the health and wellness industry. And as an older gentleman, one of my biggest fears, I want to live a long life. I want to live a healthy life. I don't want to be this person that walks around that's sick all the time. If I can take supplements, when you look at LeBron James today, he's 39 years old. He looks like he's 25. He's scoring 30 points a night because he takes care of his body.
Yeah.
And when you look at Dan today, Dan, it's like you look wonderful right now, big guy. I'm just telling you, you're half a big guy. And it's one of those things where all of a sudden when you buy in to wanting to feel better, not have your life shortened, because I know as I've grown older, people around me die.
Yeah.
You go to weddings and funerals and I see people that, that aren't getting checkups and aren't, doing things that could help their heart, that aren't doing things that could, lower their cholesterol, do all these kinds of things. And they're paying for it. And when I'm blessed that somebody introduced me to health and wellness because it made me take better care of me. And this starts with me.
Yeah.
Because I literally every day I get up, it's the Epic Pack. It's I'm doing Be Immune. I do the Magic Caps. I'm this guy that I take supplements now because even though I'm almost 63, I feel like a champ. I mean, I got a great attitude. I get up, I look out there and I'm like, yes, it's another day. And health and wellness has really made a difference for me. And then when you take that into athletics as a coach, you see all these people and, these kids are drinking Red Bulls. They're doing all these things that they don't know. Their parents don't know.
Yeah.
And here we are with a chance to educate them and have them put better things in their bodies. It's like the perfect industry.
What about the fitness side, Scott? Just movement. Do you do anything? Gym, walks?
I'm a professional walker, Dan. I used to do Insanity. Me and Sean T, Mommy Kicks.
Yeah.
Sean and I were close, and I was doing that. And that's a hard one on your body. But we're gonna do a weight loss starting on tomorrow, January 2nd, for the next 30 days. But yeah, I've changed my habits. Honestly, truly, you don't have to go out there and think you're, Mr. Fitness.
Right.
You can go out and do some walks, some light workouts, things. But if you'll watch what you eat, I've become a vegetable guy. I love vegetables now. And so I've gotten better at cooking. And I got to tell you something, Dan, when we came out with the W8 Magic Drops, that was a big deal for me.
Oh, yeah.
Because it made me focus in on drinking a lot of water, taking the drops for my appetite, and then, kind of watching my meals. And all of a sudden, I didn't even want to go out to dinner anymore because I couldn't get the kind of food that I wanted that I was getting at home.
Yeah.
It's
funny. I think it was just on our last podcast I was talking about, and to me, it when I said it was super frustrating because I would like to blame somebody else So many times in success and stuff like that in business, there's things that go against you that you have no control of. Again, you have control of your attitude, you have control of what you do afterwards, but there's just some things that can happen that are unfortunate. But in the health and nutrition and movement, I like to call movement more than fitness, because I really think it's just about moving, being able to stay mobile and stuff into an older age. And it's different for everybody, but that you're 100% in control of that. Obviously there's could be some health issues or genetics or something like that, there's still stuff that you can do, but it could be that kind of stacked against you. But for most people, all of the health problems and fitness and lack thereof, a lot of it's self-inflicted. And it's just something that as soon as I really started to think about that, I'm like, man, nobody can stop me from eating right except for me. Nobody can stop me from, movement and exercising except for me. And so it was one of those things. It was just kind of like the light bulb going off and saying, man, I need to pay attention that I'm in the situation. I talk to people about this all the time for business. And then I don't do the same basic things for health and fitness, where I basically say all the time, you're in the exact position that you're in right now because of the decisions that you've made over the last, 3 months, 3 years, 30 years, whatever it is. And that's the same for business and for nutrition. So let's kind of switch gears a little bit and go into finances. And what I like to talk a little bit about, Scott, is not just amount of money that people make. We talk about the type of money, specifically residual income. And the reason that we focus so much on residual income is because I think as human beings, our two most valuable assets are our health, which we just talked a little bit about, and then our time. And so often people, give up so much of their time chasing that dollar, and then they lose maybe some of the things that are even more important to us than the money itself, with, family and relationships and things like that, because you're just like, man, I got to make some more money. But we're focusing on residual income. So had you ever heard of residual income or even knew what it was while you were coaching, or was the Excel conversation in that meeting? Did you even not kind of understand residual income then?
No, I had no idea. The only thing I knew was if you were a singer and you sang a song and they played it over and over in movies, that royalties. But I had no idea what residual income was.
Yeah.
And then I kind of figured it out as doing something one time, but getting paid for it over and over and over and over and over and over again.
Well, now that you've had some experience in residual income, how do you like it?
Oh, Dan, it's it ruins you from wanting to have a normal job.
Yeah.
That's what really, honest and truly, because it's like, if you wanted to go be a school, let's say you want to be a substitute teacher today.
Yeah.
You can go make $110. Okay. One time. That's it. You're not going to get it a second time. Every time you do it, you get paid. I would rather do something and get good at doing something and do it as much as I can, but then get continuously paid for it day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year. I mean, Dan, I've got customers that still order every month.
Yeah.
And I get 50% commission on each one of them. And I asked them to be my customer a year and a half ago.
Well, I have companies that I left 20 years ago. There's still people in my downline ordering from that company that I brought in. And I'm no longer getting paid on some of them because I didn't stay active in the company. But here's one interesting thing. The very first company I joined, 1993, I'm still active in that company to this day. I've not sponsored a person or anything since I think maybe 1997. So now we're 2024. So we're looking at 27 years residual income with checks coming in every single week. I haven't sponsored one person in 27 years.
Wow. There's two great things about that. Two amazing things about that. Number one is that's the way it's supposed to work. Yeah. And the second thing is the fact that you joined a company that still pays you.
Yeah.
That has the integrity to do that. And, Dan, when I speak of you, you and your family you cover the integrity base for us. You do. And that's the whole thing, because like in any business, it's always hard to find people that will do and say as they do and say.
Yeah.
But yeah,
It is. It's an
residual
interesting
income.
world we live in. That's for sure.
Hey, Scott, let me ask you something, because I don't want it to be a secret. You're one of the, I would call it a small percentage of leaders in this industry around the world who have amassed, seven-figure, incomes and profits.
Right.
And what would you attribute that to? I mean, before we get into personal growth and development and all that kind of stuff, I mean, just as far as just the grit of the game, what jumped you up to that type of income, as a professional?
Well, when you think about it, all right, Clavon, when I told you I made in my second month, I made $837. I made $1,500, then I made $35, then I made $92. I saw a pattern.
Mm.
And I got excited because I didn't come from money. And then I saw other people that were in this company that were killing it. I mean, and like, you talk about a humility story, okay? I go to our national convention, 1995, my second year, and I have a $23,000 month the month before, right? And so they're going to bring up the new top 10 income earners in the company. And I'm sitting back going, you know what? Yeah. Okay. I'm making 23 people know who I am, saying hi to me and everything like that. Well, number 10 was $70,000. Now I got to tell you, number one was $1.28 million.
Wow. In a month.
And that was Paul Orberson. And Al Thomas was number two, and an ACN guy, you might know him by just a wonderful human being. But I saw the vision of other people's successes. And I said, just maybe I could be one of those guys.
Yeah.
And some of those people that were making that kind of money, I mean, this one guy literally lived in a double wide trailer, bought a TV that was too big to fit in the trailer, one of them big old box TVs years ago. And so they had to set it outside the trailer up on a table and watch the TV out the window. That dude made $104,000 that month.
Wow.
And I said to myself, if these people can do this, why can't I?
Yeah.
The only person holding me back's me.
Man, I love that you talk about that, Scott, because that was the thing that kept driving me in this industry. Was I kept seeing people that were having success, and I'm like, man, and nothing against them, but I'm like, this is a business that you don't have to have any special skill set, background, or experience. You see people from all walks of life that have success, people that already had money, people that never had money, people that are great communicators, people that are horrible communicators. And so I probably would have quit if it wasn't for that belief that I could figure out how to do this, because it wasn't going good for me. And I was just like, man, like if it would have taken like massive skill to do it, I probably would have quit. But I kept thinking to myself that I think I can figure this out. And I remember like playing college sports and going and seeing the different skill level from high school to college. And that was for me. And again, I'd like to think now with, over 30 years of working on my mind and stuff like that, that I kind of wish I could go back to that 18-year-old and say, no, you can do this. You can hang with all these people. But I think a lot of times in sports, there's two types of people. There's the ones that were always pretty good, and then they get there and people are better, and they kind of give up and kind of clam up in a shell. And then there's others that just see exactly what they're doing. That success leaves clues, and work harder and harder and harder, and they improve at the rate that they need to in order to jump ahead. And I think I was kind of somewhere in between, but actually I was probably a little bit more. I guess I was never like absolutely incredible, like I was the best at anything, but I did start to realize these guys were all the best in their high school. I mean?
Here's the good news. The network marketing things worked out pretty well for you.
Yeah, that is good news, but I do think that a lot of that mindset for me was just the belief, and a lot of the times people have that I've talked to and people that I've seen be ultra successful, I noticed a difference in them, and that difference was that they believed that they could do it, and I don't know if it is. Is there anything that made you believe it? I mean, obviously you're already starting to see some success, so you're seeing it happen a little bit, or was it just seeing the others and then saying, geez, man, if they can do it, I can do it?
It was really a combination. Me actually getting paid for what they said I had to do to get paid.
Yeah.
They say, here it is.
So
You
seeing
do
that the
this.
system's actually working.
Yeah. And I said,
Yeah.
okay. So the more I do that, and I'll never forget when I asked Dr. Campion, I said, Dr. Campion, how many people would you like me to get at this first meeting? He said, well, every person that you get at this first meeting that signs up and gets 2 customers, our company's going to pay you $100. I said, so if I have 2 people, I get 200. If I get 300, 5 who get, yeah. He goes, that's right, coach. It's not tough. It's like a free throw. You got this. And so I started. It became a game to me.
Yeah.
It literally became a game, and I like to win games, and so yeah, I don't. And then like, of course, seeing the other people, and then it's always nice to be acknowledged.
Mm-hmm.
You start losing weight and somebody sees you at the grocery store and they go, Clavon, man, what's up, man? You're looking great, man. How much weight you down? Or they come up, they go, are you feeling bad? You sick? It's like, because you lost so much weight. But yeah, that kind of reaffirmation, somebody says something about the car you're driving. Somebody says about where you're living now. And, tell me a girl that doesn't want to be told her dress is pretty. And that reaffirmation is a big deal. And so seeing those other people do it, having people come up and tell me I'm doing really, really well. And then you get invited places that you normally could never go. You've never dreamed of going before. And I remember getting chosen to go on the tour, and we flew on the private jet that George Bush flew in to go for his inauguration. Oh, wow. And so we got to go to a 3-city tour and fly private. And once you fly private like that, there were couches, and I mean, I'll never forget. They bring me a plate of food, and I thought it was for myself and Russ Nolan, and it was stone crabs cracked open, lobsters already cut medallion style, and there were shrimp and some scallops. There was 4 things on the plate, and I just looked at it, right? Because hell, I didn't know what to do, and I didn't know if it was for me, for all of us. And then the guy next to me goes, Coach, that's for you. And Paul Oberson, I'll never forget this. He looked over at me, he said, this is how it ought to be. It doesn't have to be the other way.
That is super awesome.
Hey,
Scott, that's amazing. Great story, man. I want to piggyback off that if I could really quick.
Sure.
I'm picking up what you're putting down tonight, brother. It's very inspiring because, you start off with your father. I caught, being a real inspiration. I love the competitive spirit that you have, as far as, hey, if they can do it, I could do it. I might miss a couple things, but the recognition was important to you. Actually getting paid for the work, all these jewels that just make up human nature. But I want to just ask, outside of those things, were there any personal growth and development? Was there any specific books or mentors, maybe even outside of your upline, that really, really inspired you? And what was your training like when it came to teaching personal growth and development as a way of just becoming more valuable, becoming better, and having that as a path to success?
I look back at my life, and I'm glad you mentioned my dad because I always give him the most credit. I had a little league football coach named Charlie Johnson, who I still, when I go back to Auburndale, will go visit him.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I mean, I'm 11 years old and I hear this, Pospickle, hit somebody. If I'm lying, I'm dying. I can still hear it, right? You know, and my college coach was amazing, Hal Whistle. And so, and then of course, Kenny Trout is being one of my very dearest friends. I got to see how they treated people, B, how hard they worked, how they carried themselves. And so I knew that was, you know, I was gonna be a leader, is what I was gonna be. And
Wow.
so, and I would, you know, if there was a training, I would go to the training,
Right.
because I wanted to learn what Russ Nolan or Bob Torsi was saying, Pat Hintz or Steve Schultz. You know, I wanted to learn what they were learning. And then, you know, really at the end of the day, what I kind of figured out the most is I got good at making lists.
Mm.
You know, you'll get a kick out of this. Okay. These are just pieces of paper on top of paper on top of paper. And normally what I do is I have them pasted on my wall. They're that stick paper.
Right.
And the reason I do that is so when I walk in my office, I can't escape them.
Oh, wow.
You close your book up, you got to open it up.
Yep.
You walk in here to get on the phone in my office, you know, well, you know, I need to call him. I need to call her. So I got good at making lists, and I never had trouble asking people to help me. I just never have, because, you know, Clayvon, if you call me up and say, hey, coach, can you come over and help move my refrigerator? I don't want to. I'm just going to be honest with you, but I'm coming. You know, damn refrigerators are heavy, right? but I'm going to come over and help you, because that's who I am. That's what I was taught to do, right? And so I didn't mind calling somebody up and saying, I need to talk to you. I want you to take a look at this. And then I got better at saying, you know, if I could help you, you know, take your family on vacation and pay for it, would you be interested? You know, I got better at doing things like that, right?
Wow.
And then, you know, the one thing that you hear people talk about, and it doesn't matter what industry you're in, you know, you reach down into that why zone. When I got fired at Alabama, hardest firing. I mean, you know, that was horrible. Here I am, the assistant basketball coach, and I was never told I was doing a bad job, but I was always told I was doing a great job. And I get fired, and I'll never forget it. And so when I came back here, I had such a chip on my shoulder that the company that I joined, I was going to prove to Alabama they made this ungodly mistake. It was the worst mistake they could have ever made. Alabama didn't care two toots about that. But I made it my cross to bear. Right. And so my saying is, I never want to be asked to leave somewhere when I'm not ready. And they asked me to leave when I wasn't ready. And so I use that as my why. Yeah. And so when I didn't feel like getting in my car, going down the road, I mean, I got you know, one night I decided, you know, we were supposed to have this really bad weather here in Texas, hailstorms. I was supposed to drive an hour and a half. They called me and said, Coach, don't come. You know, we're going to get really bad storms. Not a lot of people are going to show up. So I said, okay. And here's the thing. I'd gone through a divorce and I wanted to go out with this little girl. And so I called her up and she goes, yeah, why don't you come over and have dinner at my house? So I'm like, oh, yes. I'm not going to my meeting. I get in my car. I drive over. I park in front of her house. I go in the house. Beautiful home. And next thing you know, we hear this, sounds like machine gun. And we're getting smashed by a hailstorm, right? Yeah. So I literally run outside, get in my car, and she had parked her car weird, and I couldn't get my car in the garage. And my car got hammered, right? So I'm like, God, really? I mean, you're going to throw this on me too? This has gone wrong. This has gone wrong. Now you're going to bust me up on a hailstorm because I don't drive to an hour and a half away. So I remember I leave. I'm mad. I'm upset. I go home. I call State Farm. they sent a guy out to my house about 3:45, 3:30. And the guy's doing an estimate to see about if it's totaled or not. And he goes, it doesn't look too bad, but I got to ask you a question. If it comes in, the estimate comes in under $5,000, I can write you a check today. Now, if it's over $5,000, it's going to take 7 to 14 business days. I said, what's your estimate? He goes, $4,998.83. I said, cut the check, right? Because I was broke. I'm going through a divorce. I'm living in an apartment. I'm not making any money, and it's horrible. So he gives me the check, and I get in my car, and I run to Bank of America. I'm flying. I walk into Bank of America. The lady knows me because that's my bank. She goes, hey, Coach, how are you? I said, listen, I need to cash this. She goes, yeah, no problem. Oh, she goes, yeah, there's a problem. You don't have your wife's signature on here. I didn't even know her name was on there. And she goes, well, you just need to get her to sign that. And I said, well, I can't think of a good lie to tell you, but I'm going through a divorce, and I don't think she's going to sign it. And she goes, you know what I would do if I were you? I said, what's that? She goes, why don't you deposit it and withdraw it right away? I go, I can do that? She goes, absolutely. Deposit, walk out with an envelope, $4,998.83. It bought me 2 months rent, and all of a sudden my business took off.
Wow.
I mean, because you know what? Here's what happens when you get your back against the wall.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't have a lot of options. My parents don't have money.
Yeah.
And so I got blessed on a hailstorm. Didn't think it was a blessing at the time. Matter of fact, I was talking to Jesus about that, and we weren't doing real well in the conversation. But it's just one of those things where, I don't know that it's training that matters. I think you just got to figure out why you want to do this, and if your why is big enough, I don't care, you'll figure it out.
Yeah, that's awesome. I remember my first upline was always asking to write down your why, and I just never did. It just was like, oh, I want to make money. Why is anybody else? And I think it was one of the things that was probably more than a year after I had joined, and I finally had all these things, just almost like one of those days that you're writing all the reasons you should quit and stuff like that. And I was really just trying to think, and it's like, why am I doing this? It's not going well. Why am I doing it? And what the thought came to me is I went to school mostly to play sports. I wasn't too worried about, getting a job. My parents had furniture stores. My dad was also in the insurance business, so I could just kind of go into the family business. And when I went there to play sports, I realized that I wasn't, super good at the sport that I was playing, and I didn't really have the drive to push to get better. And so the thought came to me. I said, you know what? I'm probably not good enough at sports to go professional, but I would love to stay working in sports and working with kids. And so I started thinking, maybe this could give me the opportunity to do what I'm passionate about and not have to worry about, the money I'm making. And so I finally wrote down my why, and the why was I always want to work for passion, never for a wage. And that's really what drove me. Is I kind of had the concept that it's like, okay, I'm going to be going to school for 4 years, and I kind of gave myself 4 years. I'm like, I'm going to give this everything I have. I'm going to do everything I can to figure this out for the 4 years I'm in college, because I don't want to have to go get a job and work for somebody else. And so that's the thing that kind of kept pushing me. It was that why. And what's funny is I always thought that why was the dumbest thing. That why can't be that important. And it was over a year for sure before I actually sat there and thought, why in the world am I doing this? And then that why was strong enough because I knew I didn't want to work a job that I hated just to make a little bit of money. And so that I do think that's what kind of pushed me. What about Scott? We're getting close to closing out here, and I really, really appreciate your time, especially on New Year's Day. It's been awesome. But what about accountability? Is there anything that you do for accountability for yourself? Or do you have anybody that holds you accountable? And also even in coaching and in building teams, has there been anything in accountability that has helped?
I've got a very select group of friends that are in this industry: Pat Hentz, Jordan Adler, Steve Schultz, that are guys that have made millions of dollars in this industry, and we make it a point to talk a lot, and about what they're doing, what I'm doing, what is working for them, and what's working here for me, and probably the greatest accountability person for me, honest and truly, is me. And when I look in the mirror, and I know if I'm doing a good job, I know if I'm doing a bad job. And I'm also the kind of guy that I like to prove people wrong. I like to, if I was somewhere else before, you want to knock down the naysayers. And I know that might not be the most, I used to say, I want to shove it down your throat in a nice Christian way. And say it in a way though, because, if you're not writing something down and you're not looking in the mirror saying, are you doing this, 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 and this? Or when you're on the phone with your buddies and they're saying, well, I'm doing this, this, and this. You've gone this many times to this place. Yeah. There's a great thing that goes with wanting to be great. And when you sit there, I was listening to Jalen Milroe, who's the quarterback at Alabama, and they said when he was going through his struggles, he was getting up every morning at 4:00, and he was the first one at the gym before anyone else got there. And he made his mind up that he was going to be great. Now, did he have his best game today? No. But he's going to have a lot more really, really good games, and he's going to have a bigger future. Right. And it's because he made the decision to be great. And I don't I can watch the same movie over and over and over again that has a happy ending. I don't want the sad stories. I want the movies where there's a hero.
Yeah.
I do. Those are the kind of things that I pay attention to. And I just think it's a mindset. I do. I think it's a mindset that makes you want to be that person.
Love it. Love it. That's so powerful, Scott. And so, we talked about health and wellness, fitness, we talked about financial literacy, residual income, personal growth and development, this whole concept of accountability. And, Scott, I really would love to know, a little different from just that heartfelt wanting to help people. That's obviously the nature of many leaders in our industry, givers wanting to serve, but more specifically, this idea of just like really giving back. It's just like, hey, man, get rich, give back to the community. Any specific things you personally do, again, outside the general nature of serving, just giving back as a philosophy, how important is that to you?
It's what makes me feel good. Yeah. Honestly, truly, it's where I find joy. Like we do the epic acts of kindness that Be Epic does, and we do those, and we're going to do another one here coming up. And I was, this is, you might not think it's a big deal, but it's a big deal to me. My father, when I was younger, there's always a couple of kids on the team, that can't afford shoes. Okay, that's just the way it is. I found out one of my friends, he passed away. I spoke at his wedding or funeral, and we're sitting in the church afterwards in the back where we're eating. And he says to me, he said, your dad used to buy my shoes. Wow. I said, what are you talking about? He said, yeah, me and Tico, he bought our shoes. He bought our shoes all 3 years of high school on the basketball team. I didn't know that. And so what I did is when that happened, it's one of those things that I do to honor my dad.
Yes.
And when I say that I've done it, I just pulled out my Nike app the other day because someone was talking to me about me doing the shoe thing. and I stopped counting at 157 pairs.
Wow.
I just, because I buy them not just on the Nike app. I
Right.
buy them on the sneakers. I buy them on the GOAT, in just different places. I just, Dan, I told you the other day, Dan, when they were coming out with the reverse
Oh yeah, on the
Montel
15th.
Kobe's, the red ones.
Yeah.
I wanted those in the worst way. And so literally I went in and I got ready for the draw and I hit it right away. And I mean, I couldn't have hit it any faster. And I didn't get it. And then you go look at it. Now they're on there for $500, $600, $800. And so instead, Dan, I don't know if you remember this. We were down in Houston. I was sitting next to this little boy in the hallway.
Yeah, I remember. I saw you talking to him. Yep.
His name is Talon. And Talon told me that his father was a lawyer, his mother was this. And then I find out he lives with his grandmother. His father's been incarcerated. His mother, they had to take him away from the mom for reasons. And so, I gave Talon my number and we talked about shoes. And so what I did is I called the grandmother up, got his shoe size and sent him 2 pairs for Christmas. And so instead of me getting the red ones, I gave him 2 pairs. And I'll be honest with you, I feel so good about that. And I don't say this to make it to be like I'm important. God has blessed me to help people. Dan, the group that we started in South Africa, literally under Johnny, I mean, they're having so many money opportunities when they get their customers. You would think I'm, the richest guy in the world because I'm running promotions for them to help them. But it's keeping them going right now. It's helping them. And I just find joy in that. My shoe ministry is what it is. Susie will do Bibles and shoes now. But it's just, I enjoy it. I can't get enough of it.
I love that, Scott. It's something that we're super passionate about also, and really think that it's just a great part of life in helping others. So I love that you do that. And again, I got just a lot of great information here tonight. Again, really appreciate it. Any last things that you would like to say? Anybody who's looking for success? It sounds like you were making pretty good money before you left your coaching job and stuff like that. But at other times, has there ever been that thought of, man, I'm just not sure if I can make this happen? Is it worth it? And stuff like that. It sounds like maybe you were at that point when you had the hailstorm and things weren't going so good. And I need to go find another coaching job, or what am I going to do? But what's giving you the courage to keep working for yourself? And you may not have all the security that's out there.
Right. When you go through a divorce, I have 4 kids. I have triplet daughters and a son, and I could give you multiple examples of, my son having a seizure, having to go to the emergency room. We're there, and he doesn't have insurance, and so the lady says, well, who's the insurance? And he points at me, and she goes, what insurance are you talking, sir? What insurance? I said, no, the insurance is me, and so I pay for that. And he said this to me yesterday, Dan. And, because I have a lot of responsibility. I've got a mother that's in an assisted living home that I help take care of. I've got my daughters and my son. And he said this to me. He said, Daddy, I already feel like I've won the lottery with the life I've been able to live. And it's because we were able to do some really cool things, be in a really cool environment, having the jobs that I've had and having him be able to be a part, and then be able to take those opportunities from where we were and grow his.
Wow,
and then there's one last thing I'll say. So a lot of people count on me, Clavon, and I don't mind. I got big shoulders. They might not look big, but they are. And I heard this quote years ago, and it said, as long as nobody cares who gets the credit, we're going to win.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
anytime I've ever been in an environment where people fought for the credit, we had dysfunction.
Right.
And when nobody cares, you know,
Mm.
you know, everybody just works. You know, they work together, and you know, and being driven is a good thing because I still care if I win or lose. But you know, it's just one of those things. So I guess that would be my final shot.
Awesome. I love it. Again, Scott, thanks so much. Really appreciate you taking the time. Again, New Year's Day. Just an awesome time. I'm so excited about this year and things that are going on. Clavon, anything for you? Any last words before we close out?
Hey, listen, Scott, I just think symbolically, you know, January 1st, our first episode of this new year, you couldn't have had a better guest. You know, you're very principle driven, you're very heartfelt, very sincere, and I learned a lot from you tonight. So it's just been an honor. It's been a pleasure.
My pleasure, believe me. Fellas, God bless you. I appreciate you. And let's make 2024, that's the first time I've said it, Dan. Let's make 2024 our best year yet.
Hey, listen,
Awesome.
guys, if you watch this episode on our Facebook outlets, hey, guys, like it and share it. And if you're out there on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. We're going to continue to bring you uncommon excellence, and you're going to see a great theme of inspiration. Dan, any final words before we get out of here?
No, I think that's it, man. I just am so grateful for the opportunity here to help as many people as we possibly can. So just like you said, you know, subscribe and share, and just realize that the only reason that we're doing this 100% is to help people. And that's what our vision is. NEML 16 and up. If you're wondering what you can do to live this type of life, to fly in that first class and have the crab and the lobster and all of that's all just for you, not to share. You know, sitting on the sofa in the jet and those types of things, and so many other things. I always kind of, you know, joke about it. I mean, there's nothing better than getting rich with your best friends. And I guess it's not really joking about it, but traveling all over the world, first class, staying at the nicest resorts, eating at the best restaurants, having cool cars, houses all over the world, and doing that with your best friends. It's pretty cool. And our goal is to give people the opportunity to realize who they are, what they're capable of, and then show them a clear vision and opportunity, because obviously you can't just snap your fingers and have all that stuff. Opportunity has to be present. But with this podcast, it's just all about those examples, and that success leaves clues. And again, you could go through bullet point probably 10 great clues that Scott left us from, and they're very similar. And I think next week it's going to be similar again, and it's just going to continue to be, everything's a little different backgrounds and stuff like that. But you're going to see a lot of similarities in everything that's out there. So again, just realize that every human being has greatness within, and we want to help bring that out and give people the best chance of success. So thanks so much, and we'll see you guys next week.
That's right. See you guys next week.
You guys.
Thank you, Scott.